Somewhere between around 1 million years ago, in Africa, something happened around a small fire that no other species on this planet had ever done before. And scientists still can't fully agree on how it happened or why it happened when it did. Before this, every living thing on Earth had the same relationship with fire. And it was simple. Run. Fire meant death. Fire meant destruction. Fire meant a wall of heat that wiped out everything in its path. Every animal had this rule hardwired in. See smoke, run. But at some point, a group of early hominins saw grass burning after a lightning strike. And instead of running, they walked toward it. That one reversal, walking toward fire instead of away from it, might be the single most important behavioral shift in human evolution. And we still don't really know why it happened. Picture the scene. The entire animal kingdom fleeing in panic, and a handful of hominins pushing through their fear, stepping closer to the flames, pulled by something they couldn't explain. This wasn't just a physical move, it was a shift happening inside the brain. The ability to look at danger and see opportunity hiding inside it. Most researchers think this didn't happen overnight. It likely built up slowly, generation after generation, out of curiosity and necessity. The ones bold enough to get closer to fire probably got something out of it. Better food, more warmth, better protection, and that edge helped them survive and pass it on. Over hundreds of thousands of years, the bold ones multiplied, and getting close to fire went from a random event to a habit. Scientists mostly agree on when humans started using fire, but when they learned to actually make it, that's a whole different, much messier debate. Because watching fire, staying near it, and using it to your advantage, those all started long before humans figured out how to create it themselves. Each one was its own milestone, and thousands of years could have separated them. That's the gap science still hasn't nailed down. Archaeologists find burnt bones, layers of ash, scorched earth. But figuring out if that came from a wildfire or a fire someone lit on purpose isn't easy. The evidence suggests that early on, humans had no way to make fire. Their only option was to wait for nature to do it. Lightning would strike, the forest would burn, and once it died down, people would head straight for the burnt ground, because there was something valuable there. Meat that had cooked in the fire pulled apart easily and gave more energy for less effort than raw meat did. On that scorched ground, they'd also find other things, animal organs that had already partly cooked, seeds and roots softened by the heat and easier to eat. It was basically a free meal, just for showing up after the fire. And that habit of scavenging burned land probably gave early humans their first real taste of what fire could do for them. Some archaeologists think burnt ground doubled as a kind of safe zone too. Most predators avoided it, so humans could relax a little, take their time eating, move without rushing. That short window, maybe a few hours, maybe a day, gave early humans something new, a break from constantly being on alert. But here's the real question nobody's fully answered. If fire was this useful, when did humans learn to actually keep it going? Because once a natural fire burned out, there was no guarantee they'd find another one. Lightning doesn't strike on schedule sometimes, they'd have to wait weeks, sometimes months. And in that gap, life went right back to how it was before raw meat, cold nights, predators. To close that gap, humans had to develop something new, something that was genuinely revolutionary at the time, carrying a burning piece of wood with them and keeping it alive. That wasn't just a skill, it was a whole new way of thinking, planning for tomorrow, protecting something that wasn't useful right now, but would matter later. This idea of thinking ahead was brand new to the human brain. And some scientists argue that keeping fire alive was the first real lesson that taught humans effort today pays off tomorrow, a mindset that eventually became the foundation for farming, storing food, preparing for seasons, all of it. Sounds simple when you say it like that, but think about how hard this actually was. Someone always had to be watching the fire day and night, whether people were sleeping or off doing something else. Rain, wind, traveling, none of it was an excuse. Sometimes they had to gather extra dry wood and grass just to carry along and keep it burning. One moment of carelessness and the whole group was back to waiting on lightning, which could take weeks or months. That pressure, according to some researchers, is what shaped early human social structure. Watching the fire became a shared job, not one person's responsibility. Something like a shift system probably formed, people taking turns keeping watch. And that shared duty might be the earliest real structure of trust and teamwork in human groups. Kids were likely taught early how to stay near fire safely, how to poke it to keep it going, when to add more wood, knowledge passed down generation after generation. This daily grind may have also been humanity's first real division of labor. Some hunted, some gathered, some stayed back to guard the fire, all working toward keeping the group alive. Some scientists believe that once humans started eating cooked food, it changed their bodies and brains in a big way. Cooked meat is way easier to chew and digest than raw meat, which means the body burned less energy just digesting it. Chewing raw meat could take hours. Some estimates say 5 or 6 hours a day just chewing, while cooked meat did the same job in a fraction of the time. One Harvard anthropologist built on this, arguing that the energy saved went straight into growing the brain, right around the same time human brain size started shooting up. He points to our smaller jaws, smaller teeth, shorter guts, as proof our bodies evolved around cooked food, not raw. He also notes that if someone today tried to survive on an all-raw diet, they'd struggle to get enough calories unless they ate a massive amount, which he says is proof our bodies have relied on cooked food for millions of years, and we can't easily go back. But not everyone agrees. Some scientists say cooking alone can't explain a mental leap this big because solid evidence of controlled fire doesn't show up early enough in the fossil record to match when brain growth kicks in. Their argument is that maybe eating meat itself, cooked or raw, was the real driver of that change. So the debate's still open. Did fire shape the human brain, help it along, or have nothing to do with it? Every new fossil find pushes this conversation in a new direction. What is clearer is that the next big step, actually making fire, took hundreds of thousands of years to develop, and it happened 2 different ways. The first was friction, rubbing 2 pieces of wood together, fast and long enough to build up heat until it sparked. This is the hand drill, or bow drill method, spinning a stick fast inside a small hole in another piece of wood until the friction created enough heat to form a glowing ember. This method was brutal. People could work at it for hours and still fail. It took real strength, patience, and practice. Even the wood mattered. Too hard, and it wouldn't work. Too soft, and it wore down too fast. This skill was so hard to master that in a lot of ancient cultures, the people who could make fire were given real status, and the knowledge got passed down within families. A father teaching his son, an elder teaching students, spending hours on the right grip, the right speed, and knowing exactly when to push harder the moment smoke appeared. The second method was percussion, striking 2 specific types of rock together, like pyrite and flint, throwing off sparks that landed on dry grass and caught. This method was more reliable than friction, so a lot of early humans started carrying it around like a ready-made kit. Special stones, dry grass, or fungus that caught fire fast, all packed into a small pouch so fire could be made wherever they went. That fire kit was proof of a whole new kind of thinking, because making one meant understanding which stones actually worked, which materials caught sparks fastest, and how to keep it all dry and protected. It was preparation for hard times ahead. And it's probably part of what gave early humans the confidence to travel farther, since they no longer had to wait around for a natural fire to show up. But how did they figure this out in the first place? Was it pure accident? Someone noticed sparks flying while knapping stone tools, and those sparks landed on dry grass and caught? Or did one group figure it out and pass it along, generation to generation, with different groups discovering their own methods independently based on what they needed? There's still no clear answer, and honestly that's what makes this whole story so fascinating. The biggest technological breakthrough in human history, the one our entire modern world is built on, and we still don't know exactly how it started.
What we do know for sure is that the day humans learned to make fire on their own, everything changed. They started settling in cold places that used to be impossible to live in, cold parts of Europe, high mountain regions, because now fire could travel with them like a portable heater. They could sleep safely at night since firelight kept predators away, and that safety probably changed how humans slept, giving the brain better rest. Cooking food lowered disease risk since heat kills off a lot of the bacteria and parasites found in raw meat. Fire changed how tools were made too. Wooden spears hardened in fire became stronger and lasted longer, and fire changed the human clock. Before, people could only work during daylight. Now firelight made nighttime useful too. Tools could be shaped, hides cleaned, families could talk, while the rest of the world stayed dark and silent. That extra time, which used to just be sleep, turned into something new. Social time, technical time, sitting around the fire at night, talking, telling stories. That might be the exact moment human language and social life started taking real shape. Daytime was survival, finding food, avoiding danger, moving. But at night, with the fire burning and the world dark and quiet, that was the first real chance people had to just sit, talk, listen to each other, share what happened that day. Some anthropologists believe it's those firelit nights that laid the groundwork for complex language, passing knowledge to the next generation and building the social bonds that are still part of who we are today. So next time you press a button to heat your tea, or flick a lighter to turn on the stove, remember, that tiny everyday action is humanity's first, hardest one, and still most debated discovery. A mystery that took millions of years to solve, and one we're probably still not done figuring out.